What's up, everyone? Welcome to the final Mythic Conversations episode of 2024. We have had an absolutely banner year in the world of Legions. I've had a pretty eventful year on Mythic Conversations, recording our 200th episode. Such a cool milestone to hit. Thank you to everyone who tunes in and week out, either live or catching the replay. I appreciate you for supporting this show for all the years you have done so. But tonight, we are going to look back at 2024. I wanted to have a good old-fashioned toy conversation. One of the people that I love just talking toys with is my good friend, the real Wolf King himself, Len LaGuardia. So I use tonight as an excuse. That dude is so busy. I am so busy. It's hard for us to actually connect. So tonight is my excuse to get to talk to Len for the next hour and a half. I'm going to bring him up right now. Len, real Wolf King, thank you for talking to me tonight.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Jeremy.
At one point, I wanted to howl because I thought it'd be really funny, and then I realized how ridiculous that would be. And I
no, it's okay. We can skip that.
I mean, because there are people howling in the chat here. Wholesome Warlock has got an awoo. So does, yeah.
Guessaway. Escavaria. Jeremy, can I say something real quick? What? That tendril in your collection is giving me such anxiety right now. He looks like he's gonna come crashing down any moment.
No, so the trick is,
oh my goodness,
that the thing that he's on, the rack that he's on, he's like wedged into it.
Oh, okay, all right.
Like it's slightly too small, so he has to be he's pressed in there so tightly that it actually holds him in place.
Okay, thank goodness, because when you were embiggened on the big screen, I could see it, and I was like, "Is that tendril just hanging there?"
It's a lot more secure than it looks.
Okay, thank goodness. For his sake.
So, man, how you been doing?
Good. Usual craziness, busyness. Since November, right? I mean, I feel like the world's been nonstop since Legion's Con, and I feel like that's how it was last year too. It's just like you're like boom, 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 till the end of the year, and then hopefully breathe.
Someone just said Len is a Cyberman. I just realized that Cyberman mask right behind you. I love that.
That's actually my wife's. I stole it because I was like, that'll be good in the background.
My wife is all keyed up. That's what we're doing on Christmas Day. We're gonna watch the new Doctor Who Christmas episode.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Have you seen the trailer for it yet?
I have not. No, I haven't.
So it starts with him going from door to door, or kind of he's in the TARDIS, so he's going from probably place to place throughout space and time, trying to find whoever ordered a cheese toastie and a pumpkin latte. So my wife is now convinced that on Christmas Day, she's going to make us all cheese toasties and pumpkin lattes, and we're going to watch Doctor Who.
Oh, it's better than fish sticks and custard, right?
Which we've done as well. We've tried that as well.
I remember you telling me that.
It's horrible. It was absolutely awful.
What is a cheese toasty? Is that a grilled cheese?
So I think it kind of, but it's toasted instead of grilled actually. So I think when I make what I call a cheese toasty, and this is a very British thing. So I don't think that we have any members of the Euro Legions podcast in the chat right now, but I do think that it's actually toasted cheese, basically literally toasted bread with cheese on it.
Oh, like open face? So the cheese is on top of the slice of bread?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I've done this since I was a little kid, because when I was a little kid, I was afraid to like use the stove to actually do a grilled cheese, but I could totally do it in a toaster oven and make a toasted cheese. So Brendan Higgins says, yeah, a British toasty is an open-faced grilled cheese.
Oh, okay. Huh. That's interesting. I guess I made that the other night then, because I put some mozzarella cheese on top of some toast and melted it. Interesting. All right.
So
being afraid of the stove, I was the same way. Except I think you have a bigger chance of lighting a fire with cheese in a toaster.
Well, it's a toaster oven. So
okay. I thought you meant a toaster.
Dude, I've never bought a toaster in my life. I don't understand why. Dude, toaster ovens are a superior appliance.
Wait, you're telling me when you got married, you didn't get a toaster? No one gave you a toaster?
No, because I'd already discovered the benefits of a toaster oven.
Oh, all right.
A toaster oven does everything that a toaster does, but it's also a mini oven.
No, I get it. I have both. I do my toast in the toaster. And I have one of those, like, it's like a Ninja, like air like fryer oven thing. That's nice.
I don't have an air fryer.
This is like hybrid. It's like not pure air fryer, but it's more like a toaster oven air fryer. It's nice.
I agree. Jesse has weighed in. Toaster ovens are better than toasters. I completely agree with you.
Look,
Cloud as well.
If you can only have one, then yes, agreed. Yeah. But I have the luxury of having both, and I like my toast in a toaster.
So this conversation has gotten off to a really unexpected start.
Yeah, welcome to my life.
Gonna bring it back.
All right, let's go.
I agree with what you're saying. It's such a build up to Legion's Con, and then you almost feel like, okay, once Legion's Con's done, I can like take my foot off the gas, and it never seems to happen. It's just like the end of the year is just such a race to December 31st. There's so much to do. Before we go back and look at 2024, I'd love to know a little bit, you talk a little bit about, what's been going on with Wolf King. I mean, you've now been doing this for a couple years. I'm still proud to be part of Team Wolf King. It seems like a lot of things have changed. I mean, this past year, Legion shop closed. A number of other shops have, closed up or about to close up. But it seems like Wolf King is just chugging along stronger than ever.
Well, thanks. It's a lot of support from the community, and I think like a lot of work that we put in over the years really is paying off now. Like you just stick it out, stick to your guns, do the things that you set forward to do. Like what is it? 5 years ago now? 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And just stick with it. Don't change. Just keep it. And then we expand it, like to be a more all-in-one shop where people can get other things. And I think that really just carried us, like it made it happen to where like this season from like this holiday season's been crazy. Yeah. Like it's been really great. And I'm just really thankful for that. Like, and thankful for everyone for the support.
Well, you've done great with like the retailer wave and stuff, I mean, a lot of retailers, that wave has been absolute fire. A lot of retailers.
Yeah.
It's interesting because, one of the things that happened this year is Four Horsemen Studios reduced case packs from 24 to 12 on a bunch of the waves. So, the retailer wave is part of that, where they are 12 per case. So you get a lot of retailers that order like minimum orders. They order a case of each, which in some cases means that they're getting half as much product as they used to. Obviously we've looked at Four Horsemen at the retailers this year, and there are some that are no longer with us. So it seems like something I've been saying for a while, that some of these things are being produced in lower numbers than maybe they were the last few years. A lot of people that aren't placing pre-orders that are saying, oh, I'll just get it when it comes in stock. you're not going to see that happening as frequently because a lot of this stuff is going to go out of stock before they're readily available. And it seems like this wave that happened where a lot of retailers came coming back saying, dude, I totally underestimated the popularity of the Shadow Circle or, the Undead of Vikingfell. And they've asked for some additional cases. And it seems like Wolf King has done really, really well with those bundles and everything that you put together for those.
Yeah. I think that definitely helps. Was this the first 12 per?
It was.
Yeah.
It wasn't the first 12 that was offered, but it's the first 12 that got delivered.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay. I follow. Yeah. I know exactly what you're saying now. Yeah. I kind of figured that, and it makes it, it's a little daunting, especially with the figure Obscura, because you don't want them to sit too long. And how many you get afraid, like, are you going to sell that many Marleys in July? Like, do I have, you don't know, but like, sometimes you just got to have faith and, grab what you can, see what happens with it. But the figure Obscura really went well. The Black Death, I wish I had more people. Sorry, I don't. But it's like those went really, really well. And I think it's because the customer base is customizers, and they're seeing it and they're like, oh man, I need this, because they love that, that gaunt body that they're making all kinds of cool stuff with. And that's what's really cool with doing the bundles and everything, because it's just selling to a really specific audience. And I think we caught that like little sector of people that really like that, to grab extra parts, even if they don't want the parts, they put them in their pile, maybe use them later, trade them, do whatever, and it's fun because I get to like pretend.
They bring them to the Legion shop, Legion's Con Pop and Swap, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think Red Death, it's interesting because I think that's a good old fashioned kind of like Legion story where back in those early ways where you had characters like Sir Ignatius and Orange Steelhide, things that for one reason or another people skipped out on. I think we're seeing some of that, like with that Red Death, or I call it Black Death, where there were some people that were like, yeah, it's not different enough from the first version. I think I'm going to skip it. And I had mentioned recently that the Black Death is the least produced figura Obscura to date. So just like what happened with some of those early waves, the stuff that's produced in smaller numbers, there's less of it, which means that when they hit and people who skipped out say, oh, you know what, I made a tactical error, I should have ordered that, there's just less to go around.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what we're seeing here, where a number of people had skipped out on that figure. They scrambled to get it once they arrived, and supply just wasn't available to meet the demand. So we're definitely seeing a lot of retailers sell out of that figure.
Yeah, I can see that, definitely. And I saw it with mine too. I think the Marleys were like that, but I didn't get a lot, but still they went fast considering, like a lot of customizers, because then I see an uptick in pirate heads or what goes with it. So like it's definitely I see a correlation between the two, that people have plans.
The Marley's great for a number of reasons. Obviously there was the unfortunate snafu with the glow, but I mean, realistically, I mean, look, dude, I don't want to minimize it. The glow is a very, very cool thing, but I remember seeing some people respond to that and they were like, I prefer it not glowing because when it glows, it's got that like almost like fuzziness to it. If you've ever had like one of those glow, like Chris's glow demons and stuff, they're almost like gritty because of the way the glow effect has to work on it. And it makes it harder to pop and swap them. It makes them, they just feel different than a standard Legions. So, obviously Wolf King is all about customizing and swapping parts and things like that. So that particular figure with the color scheme, I think, is really valuable from that standpoint. And I will also give people, Dennis Derby's right here. He was one of the ones. Yeah, Dennis, he was one of the ones. He says Marley is great for legs, for coats, and many other parts. Dennis was one of the ones that immediately was like, I'm actually glad it doesn't glow because I want to be able to pop and swap, and that's going to make it better. I remember him saying that right up front when we made that announcement. But I will say that, I think that people that are maybe skipping that haunted blue Marley, without giving too much away, but while also just totally giving it away, when you see what we have planned for a potential follow-up on Ghost of Christmas Past, I think you're going to realize that you're going to wish you would have grabbed one of those Marleys.
Interesting. I have a list here, so I could cross that off. Say hello to Dennis is crossed off my list now, because I find that I have to stay on track now.
Very good.
I really like the Marley. I will admit that I didn't keep one for myself.
Okay.
Because I like the other one. Like, I had to make that decision for Christmas. Like, what am I going to put out?
Which one do I want? Yep.
And the new one's awesome. Scooby-Doo vibes all the way. Like, I really like it. But my wife and I both said we actually both looked at them and we're like, all right, I'm going to keep this one. I'm going to use the old one. Because you have to, like, I kind of think that I like to think that if they keep coming, you're going to stay on target with the general look of them. So, like, I'm going to keep the original.
Yeah, what I ended up doing, so my original Marley display, I had 2 of the original Marley so I could use both heads. He's my favorite character, so I want all of them. But when I got the new version, I took one of those Marleys out of my case and replaced it with the haunted blue. So I have both of them in my case, one with the open mouth head, one with the closed mouth head.
Oh, that's cool.
And that extra Marley that I now have, I'm going to put that with the Christmas decorations.
Yeah, that's kind of what I do too. I have like I don't stick them with the decorations, so they go in the attic, but I have like a set of like the moose, Father Christmas.
Yeah.
Now I'll have Ghost of Christmas Past or Past with it, but I keep them all together in a separate tote that kind of go with the decorations, but not in the attic because that'd destroy them.
So a lot of good stuff happening for Wolf King. You did really well there. Everyone's still cranking. It seems like at Legion's Con, you had a really exciting display with the return of God's Fire. That has been apparently a big part of the story for 2024.
Yeah. Well, it was a very tiny part of the story for 2024 until Legion's Con, because there wasn't much going on with it. And, I think that was the adrenaline boost now that the creative team behind it, my friends Steven and Emil are starting to crank out more of it. And
Very
hopefully
cool.
we see that soon. And it's super exciting. Yeah, I really enjoyed Legion's Con. I haven't talked to you about it really in real life, like just little messages.
That's why I had to have you on tonight, so we had time to finally catch up.
It was I don't want to say it was a risk what I did, but it kind of was, because I didn't, it was different, and I wasn't sure how people would perceive it, and there were people that were a little confused, but it gave me a chance to explain and talk to a lot of more people.
Yep.
And I don't think I've ever talked or hugged or shook hands more at a show than I did that weekend, because it really just it gave you that opportunity to do that. Because a lot of people were just like, "What's this? What are you doing here? What's going on?"
Well, you usually spend so much time just managing those bins of parts and, people coming up. And you're at the point now where it's untenable. There are so many parts in the Wolf King library that no matter what you bring to a show, there's going to be people that are looking for the stuff you didn't bring. So what you did this year, and you can certainly talk to it, but you took pre-orders for stuff that could be picked up at the show. And then at the show, instead of just having parts of, bins of parts, you had a display that was dedicated to a very special release, being that new God's Fire stuff.
Right. Yeah, we had a very limited amount of actual kits, and they came with different things, like an exclusive pin, exclusive sticker. There was a really cool 11x17 print that Emil did that was free with it too. And it was cool. It was cool. It was risky because it was a little, it wasn't pricey for what it was, but it was a little pricey.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's not a $10 part,
Sure.
So going in, I was like, is this going to work? And it did. I think we came about 4 or 5 shy of selling out what I brought.
Nice. Yep.
And we of course they sold online afterwards, in a day. But it was cool. It was a neat thing, and it was really a way to highlight like the work that Emma like put into the series. And like the banners were cool because like I just let him do them. Like instead of me, sometimes when you do a lot of art yourself, and you know this, like sometimes it's cool to like print or do like someone else's. So like I get someone else's thing that they send me, and I can make a banner out of it, and I'm like, that's awesome. You know, because it's just different. Like you want to see different like things, and it was cool to bring that like to a just different image or look.
It was awesome, and the presentation of the God's Fire Pack was absolutely next level. I told you that there, but I absolutely love what you did, and yeah, Legion's Con was an absolute blur. I think this year more than any we saw less of each other. I think that we were in like very different trajectories, like where, during the show is always so hectic. And then after hours, I think you were at one place, I was somewhere else, and we just didn't cross paths as much as we have in the past.
Yeah. I mean, Friday, like Friday was I thought I was bringing a simple setup. So that was the joke, was like, I was like, yeah, this will make it easy on me. Like I'll be able to set this up and I'll get it done and it'll be faster than usual. We were there right to the end. Jordan helped me, and thank goodness he did. But we got it set up finally. And I was like, this is going to the wire. And then, we went to, and then what Billy did, manager Billy, with the Cabal stuff out in the hallway. I mean, those guys did it. He did it by himself. Like I really didn't like, I was like, here's the boxes of the stuff. Here's some tables. I'll see you in a little bit.
So I got to ask you a question.
Sure.
My son came home with one of those Oh Billy shirts. What the heck is going on in that shirt?
Let me just say this. All right. So when I made these shirts, and I don't remember the circumstances, but somehow my mother saw that shirt and she was like, what's going on in this shirt? Now my mom's like 83 and she's like, what is this? And that's the first time it dawned on me that it could be misconstrued of what it is. The possum sitting on his back. That's all.
That's what I said, because Jacob was going to wear it to like our family's house for like a kid's birthday party. And my wife was like, no, you have to go take that off.
Oh,
and he was like, why? And she was like, because I don't know what that possum is doing on that guy. Like that could be lewd or something. And I thought about it and I'm like, it totally could be lewd. There could be a joke there that I don't get. It looks like he's just sitting on.
He's just sitting. Yeah, he's sitting.
Like Billy looks passed out, and he's just. But either way, we made him go change.
Yeah, I honestly didn't think about it until then, and I was like, oh, okay. Well, you know what? They're made, so we're doing this.
All right, so I've been working this week on kind of like a recap for 2024 article. I do this on Source Horseman every single year, and I love doing it because it really does allow me to look back at the year we've just had, and definitely where we are right now. Necronominus is on the water, and Necronominus is scheduled to arrive in January. That's kind of a bummer because at one point, we expected that to be in around the summertime, and then it got pushed to, probably before Legion's Con, and then we knew we weren't going to have it for Legion's Con. So that's definitely a bit of a bummer for 2024. But as I started looking beyond that, I realized we delivered a ton of Legions this year, starting at the beginning of the year with Poxus. Like, the fact that we are this is less than a year away, doesn't that seem like forever ago?
Yeah, it does. It's really funny because I refer to Poxus as the forgotten wave. Like I feel like it came and went and people forgot. Like I still have so when I do the shows, I have these boxes, like padded boxes. You've seen them, that I keep all the figures in to put on display. And I have a Poxus box, and it's from Zolicon because I had them all set up in at Zolo. And every time I open it, I'm like, these are so cool. these are so cool. Why do I keep forgetting that these exist? Like, because it feels like it was light years away from now.
Well, it was interesting because you mentioned ZoloCon. So when I go back to ZoloCon, I think about that particular weekend because for me that was really the start, a big part of the start of the year.
Sure.
We had MegaCon before Zolo, but Zolo is just such. I mean, MegaCon's a huge event, but for us, Zolo is such it's just such an ordeal. That's the wrong word. So much happens where the entire studio is there. So many people travel for it. So the fact that at Zolo we had Poxis, but we also, if you remember, that's when the in-stock sale went live at Store Horseman while we were at Zolo. So even though that Reinforcements 2 and the Valiant Knight hit during Legion's Con, that's when they became readily available. Was during that in-stock sale and during ZoloCon. So I think that so much of that coming out may have also dwarfed Poxis a little bit. But yeah, Poxis came and went. Amazing figures. Two of my favorite figures in the Mythic Legions line are in the Poxis wave, and that is Poxis himself and Calizair. Two figures that are candidates for my figure of the year right there.
Yeah, they're all awesome. And what would further blow your mind is, consider this. That line was debut, right, for the pre-order in the first showing was at that lunchroom toy con.
Yep.
What year was that? Like at that, you remember, like
it was 2021.
I mean, yeah, like that feels like forever ago that we were at, like, in that little, like, in that lunchroom with the the Hungarian woman serving stew in there.
That was the Sir Gerard year. So that was the first year that we had the Legions Con, exclusive figure and everything. Yeah, absolutely crazy that it's, you listen to like the Mythic Enablers, and that weekend was when they all met for the first time in person and stuff. So they've talked about kind of their journey going from meeting there to that wave finally being in hand, and it felt like a full circle moment. But yeah, I mean, the fact that this year we got Poxis and then we got the wide release of Reinforcements 2, obviously the Valiant Knight, that made a huge splash, giving people a bit of a teaser of what to expect with this new range of motion in the upcoming Necronominus wave. But such a great way to start the year, I think.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's been a wave that I've anticipated more than Necro, and amongst my friends and people I talk to, the same thing. Like, there's just so many people so excited for it. Like, I can't wait. Like, I like to kind of not forget, but like kind of forget. So when I look, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's a new horse. Oh, look at that. Oh, yesterday I did it. Someone was talking about, like, the skeletons and stuff, and I was like, wait, there's a skeleton horse coming.
Yeah.
Like, hello, like, like, wow, like, yeah, it's going to be awesome.
So I think that wave is going to absolutely blow people away. But I was just looking. So Brad Treadaway, he's been doing all the video work for us. He did that amazing documentary on Beathir the Dragon. He's been doing these kind of turn videos on like Figure Obscura. He just sent me over a couple turn videos he's doing. The turn video on Sir Gideon 2, along with Bishop, those two figures, when people get them in hand, I think that is going to be an absolutely blow your mind type combination right there. Those two.
I couldn't agree more. And because when I think of that wave and what I'm anticipating the most, that's exactly it.
Really?
Oh yeah. Gideon too? Definitely.
I feel like those are under the radar because I feel like everyone's looking forward to, Necronominus and Maxilius and Conibus. Like the skeleton stuff I feel is getting a lot of attention. Pop and Swappers are super excited for the Tuberculi. And then you've got Sir Elijah. Obviously, that's Curtis's favorite figure that's coming out. But I feel like Gideon and Bishop are not at the top of most people's lists that I hear. And I think that those two are just absolutely going to blow people away. Dorklair's saying here, Gideon blew me away at Intern. I think.
Me too. Yeah.
Well, because he's one of those figures with so much sculptural detail on him that until you get it in hand and can just appreciate it, I don't think you're going to fully appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I agree with what Bill said, which I often do. And that's the one that at intern really, not intern, but G-Con really like just stuck in my brain. Like I was like, wow, this is going to be amazing. And I don't have Gideon 1, right? So like I'm kind of like, and I thought about it recently because, obviously the price went down and I'm like, maybe I'll get one, but I don't know if I really need one, but I love that classic style. So, I mean, I might like if it ever pops up, I definitely would, but I'm super excited for that. And I'm not big on mustaches, but it's okay. I like this one.
I would be remiss if I didn't also acknowledge Big Greg is in the chat and he's feeling, I think, a little he's not feeling the love because we're not talking about his tribute figure, Sir Uxak. Greg, I didn't think I needed to talk about the anticipation for that figure because it's just such a given. But yes, we are all anxiously awaiting the Sir Uxak figure.
Yeah, that figure is going to be awesome because that's kind of like, people have wanted like an ogre scale knight for a long time, and that's going to be it's going to be crazy.
Yeah, the armor, being able to use those armored parts on pieces, and the fact that, like, he's so ornate with that helmet and that chest, but the fact that those parts pop off, and once they're popped off, you kind of have a fairly basic knight build. I think that's going to end up being a customizer's like canvas right there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited for it. A little Dragon Knight. Can that happen? Make a Dragon Knight?
Sure.
That can happen, right?
It's one of those things where, like, to use the Arakagor parts, the Arakagor head is not going to fit as is on that. Right. So you're either going to have to modify or you're going to have to do something where you don't use like the armored chest plate. But like if you look at what we did for the Big Bad Toy Store figure.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yep.
If you do a tunic, like, so if you used Arakagor or Scourge or whatever, or Stavros, if you use their like torso, their dragon torso, and cover it with a tunic so you can't tell it's not armored, and you pop the armored arms and stuff in, you will be able to get that armored type look. I've seen people do kind of like digibashes with Stavros and Beradak, and it looks absolutely amazing.
Oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I could see that. Hey, Darla, get making some ogre scale tunics.
There you go. Ogre scale tunics. I could see people wanting those.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be real cool. I forgot about the big bad guy. So he's a night dragon, but I love the blue dragon. I like the blue. It's cool.
I like Ragor. Well, so
he's like one of my favorites.
There's a lot of stuff happening right now. Like there's a lot of stuff happening from the factory level. Obviously, Necronominus is on the water. That's going to be here in January. Stavros production on that is wrapping up. I think Big Bad Toy Store said they're expecting that to be able to ship in March. And there's Graveyard Skeletons. That's wrapping up. We moved that up. We said we're expecting that's now going to be available in Q1 to ship. So there's a lot of stuff that's going to be happening that's going to start 2025 really strong, similar to how we started 2024 really strong with with Poxus and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. And now, don't forget that Cosmic. Don't forget about Cosmic Legions.
That was going to be my segue right there, is that we're talking a lot about Mythic, but Cosmic had a pretty busy year as well. So we did get a wave delivered this year in the Outpost Zaxius wave, and we got, a number of special figures. So we got the Tusk Heavy Gunner. We obviously got the Legions Con Cosmic 2-pack figures, which are available at Wolf King Customs right now. And we also got the Shadow Circle figure from the 2024 retailer wave, which, no surprise, is on my short list for figure of the year from Legions. But starting with that Outpost Zaxius wave that got delivered earlier in the year, Dude, that wave, I think that is my favorite Cosmic Legions wave to date.
Really?
It's something about the variety of that particular wave. It's got the Tusk pilot in it, which I absolutely
he's
love.
awesome. Yeah.
I love Callie and Shun. The Sphex Minor. I'm not huge on the Motu tributes, but both of those Motu tributes, I think those are my two favorite Motu tributes to date. Obviously we've got the one from David Williams coming that I'm very partial to as well. But in terms of in hand, those two I love, and I dig the Greyborns as well. And I actually like Altar, I think, better than Ias because I really love the robed look.
Yeah, I love the Greyborns. You know that. I really like them a lot. I got to be honest though. I'm not going to lie. I didn't get a lot of play time with that wave. I just didn't. It's a lot of figures. There's a lot of stuff this year, right? And I didn't get a lot. I did open and play with and mess with, and the Greyborn I did, but some of them I just didn't get a chance. There's so much coming, and I love Cosmic. It's great. I'm really, really excited for Ox Crew. Yeah. I think that's going to be the turning point, so to say, the tipping point for people to really take notice of what's going on, because I'm so excited for those mech suits, for lack of a better term, or whatever you want to call them. What do you guys call them?
I just call them the Ox Crew suits, but they are big. I mean, mechs are more
that's not
driving
really
mechanical, and these are. But I get your meaning. I mean, I will tell you right now that I do think that what we were talking about earlier, where supply not meeting demand once things are in hand, I think we're going to see that in a big way with those Ox Crew waves. I would encourage people that, the Ox Crew waves right now are probably going to hit around summertime. So we posted something the other day that said, Ghost to Christmas Pass shipping is done. Necro is on the water, going to be here in January. Once Necro, the production on All-Star 6 has already begun. So with the production on Necro being done, it's moved over to All-Star 6. The plan is that after All-Star 6, it's going to move on to the Ox Crew waves. So based on that timeline, we're probably going to see that, around summertime, maybe a little bit before, we'll say. But I would encourage people that between now and then, if there are some Ox Crew figures you've had your eyes on, get to your favorite retailer and get those pre-orders in, because I think that what we're going to start seeing is what we're already seeing. Take, for instance, the Ashes of Agbendor wave. A lot of people gauge kind of popularity based on Big Bad Toy Store, because Big Bad Toy Store is, the biggest retailer. Kind of as they go, so others follow. And if you go at Big Bad Toy Store right now and look at the Ashes of Agbendor wave, more than half that wave is sold out.
Wow.
Yeah. More than I believe the Shadow Centaur, the Frost Ogre, the Goblin 2-pack, maybe the Gold Skeleton, all of these figures are sold out already on there, because they only ordered so many above and beyond the pre-order. And as more people start ordering, they're pre-selling out of those figures.
Right, yeah.
We're going to see that with these Ox Crew waves as well. And then I think once people get them in hand and they realize how fun they are, that's just going to skyrocket.
Yeah, that's what I can't wait for. I love the the mechanics of the figures, more than anything, and the way that Eric creates that magic with them, and it's that's why I'm excited, because I think it's going to be really cool. It's just it's different. It's just different, and I love different.
There are some people in the chat asking if Necro is going to be at ZoloCon. It is too early to tell if Necro will be at ZoloCon. I will tell you that if Necro comes to ZoloCon or Toylanta or any of these shows, they will be at retail prices. So a lot of people have been asking, at what point are we going to shift over to show prices matching retail prices? It will absolutely be this year. And if not sooner, it will certainly be with that wave. So if you're holding off to get that at ZoloCon to save the money, if you want to guarantee, if you want to get it, order it, get a pre-order in with a retailer, because we will have, when we do have those, they will be at those same prices.
But remember, the retailer prices is lower now, right? No, they're going to be the same. So you're going to be selling Necro at the retailer price at the shows. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Because that's what it is. What retailers charge is the retail price. What we charge during the pre-order is the discounted pre-order price. Mm-hmm. So for years, we've kind of, us selling them at shows for what's essentially the pre-order price. The reality, and a lot of people identified this, where they were like, hey, it doesn't make a lot of sense to put a pre-order in when I can get it for only a few bucks more at a show in the future. And, this company remains a small company that really gauges how many we need to order based on those pre-orders. So even though we're doing more and more in-stock items than we've ever done, those pre-orders are a core part of our business. This Reign of the Beast pre-order that's available now, getting those pre-order in, that is key to us knowing what we need to produce for these. So changing it around a little bit to say, no, the pre-order discount is only during the pre-order. If you are going to place a pre-order there, you get the advantage of that discounted price. If you wait till after, whether you're buying it from a retailer or buying it from us at a show or whatever, it's going to be that retail price.
Right. Yeah, it only makes sense.
No, there will never be a day where we do a wave and it will ship directly to you from China. Our factory is not order fulfillment. Our factory they produce figures.
And remember, everything that comes from China to you comes through the air. They're not they're not shipping individual. Yeah.
You'd probably pay more and they'd be crushed.
Yeah. Even when you order from Temu and it comes right from China, that's coming like DHL, like air. Yeah. So you're not.
Yeah. So we got that wave. I just mentioned those other figures. I said it earlier. I do think that the Shadow Circle from the retailer wave I really do think that is my figure of the year, cosmic or otherwise. I love that.
You're calling it now on the 18th of December. You're calling it now. Wow.
That's my. There's obviously Skeleton Legion Builder 2, which was a huge figure. I love that figure, so much fun, but I very much think that the Shadow Circle is my figure of the year. And I will admit there's some recency bias there, but that's the one I'm having the most fun with.
Interesting. Very interesting. I would have to say that if I took the early choice, I'm going to go with Skeleton Legion Builder 2. Because like I said a little bit ago, I really love like this, like the build, the dynamics, like how like these bucks are created. And I think that shows the biggest like advances or just changes in like what you guys are doing, because it's so cool, right? Like everyone's wanted it forever. Everyone's wanted that like pure naked skeleton. And we finally got it. And it's freaking perfect. Like it's amazing. And I have to nod my hat to that one for the year.
Dennis has got some recency bias as well, but I love the fact that he's choosing Christmas Past as his figure of the year.
Yeah, that's a absolutely stunning figure. Like my thing with that is I'm just putting that on the shelf. Not really. It's on my coffee table since I opened it, but like because it's so beautiful, like just top to bottom. I know everyone's customizing the heck out of it and everyone's loving like doing everything with it, but like as a whole, typical figure Obscura, like it's gorgeous as is, and I really like it as is.
Well, I want to go to figure Obscura in a minute, but before we do that, I want to finish talking about Cosmic, and I do just want to address this one comment. Michael Carter saying, our retail is dropping from 50 to 45 for standard figures. I thought that's what you said previously. So the standard figures in the Obscura 2 wave went for $45. The standard figures in Reign of the Beasts will be $50. It wasn't a blanket across the board. All standard figures are going down to 45, and it certainly was not retroactive where figures that were 50 previously were going to become 45. We did that for that one particular wave because the way some of that stuff costed out, it was able to do that. But that is not the standard going forward. And as we see with the Reign of the Beast wave. That has essentially 2 standard figures in it with Windaji the Cackler and the Golden Pride. Both of those are $40 in the direct pre-order. They're $50 at retail, and they'll be $50 at shows in the future. But going back to Cosmic for a minute, so I'm obviously super biased because it's a Legions Con figure, but I really do think that Cosmic Legions 2-pack was something special this year. I love the amazing alien and creature creator. The tie-in in the nostalgic aspect of the vintage toy notwithstanding, I just think that is a set that is loaded with value and 2 very cool, fun figures.
Yeah, it is really cool. That Novan Lean buck is awesome because it can give us the human figures that people want, and I love it. I think it's really cool. Like I love the fact that he's actually taller. Like when you look at him compared to others, like that's that really cool attention to detail that, like, even the first time I opened the Novan Lean and I was like, how did they make him taller? Like it's all the same parts. And then you look and you're like, oh, that's so cool. Because he is, right? And it's like that little stuff that, like, you know, I love. And it's definitely a cool one. And yeah, tons of good parts on it too. It's great.
Yeah. Dennis saying the colors are sublime on that. I agree. The colors that they got on, I mean, I love the Novian Lean figure is one of my favorite Cosmic Legions. So seeing that repainted, I remember when it was done, Joe sending me photos of it and saying, like, I think this is one of my new favorites in Cosmic Legions.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Patrick agreeing, saying the amazing alien set was the biggest surprise in hand figure this year. Very cool.
Yeah, I have to say, you know, Patrick's like one of my best buds and we talk a lot, and there's that difference of like in hand versus not. Yeah. And that's the magic of any Legion, is that like you might not be super excited like from pictures or just seeing a video of someone playing with it. It's the in hand that you're like, oh man, this is awesome. And that's he's spot on with that. It's a great in hand set.
It's the in hand, and I think it's the potential once you start digging through the pieces and everything. I mean, I think that we're doing that better than we've ever done. And I think that, you know, the contribution of, you know, certainly myself, but like Joe, Diego, you know, we all contribute to adding items to these sets that immediately make you want a second set or a second figure. You know, there's so many potential pop and swaps that you can do even within the box. Like, forget about once you expand it beyond the figure in hand, but we're adding so many different possibilities by adding, you know, second and third heads and different armor pieces and different this and that. It really gives you so many options for it that I think that when you actually get in hand and start playing, I'm seeing so many people go from I wasn't super excited for this to I need a second one now.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's that thing because when you're at the show, you're not going to open it up right away. You don't really see that happen. So people get home, open it up, start playing, and you're like, I wish I had another one of these.
So Alec is in here and he says, just opened my Ghost of Christmas Past and oh my God, it might be figure of the year. Tough choice between it, Anubis Bastet, Calazar, and a Rakagor. So Alec is identifying 2 different figure Obscura releases. And I think that's a good segue into that. You know, we've talked a little bit about how we started the year very Mythic heavy, and then we just covered some Cosmic stuff. But figure Obscura once again had, I think, a very strong year with a lot of variety. So in May, we got Anubis and Bastet, the first female in the line, the first time we ever did a 2-pack. Then we got in late September, early October, we got the Frankenstein's Creature. And of course, we were just talking about the Ghost of Christmas Past. Curious, Len, do you have a favorite amongst those releases this year?
I would have to say that the Ghost of Christmas Past right now is my top, but that's tough because I'll be dead honest. I didn't spend a lot of time with the Gods of Egypt set simply because I opened my set for display, and I had, and they're in the showcases and they're going out like at every show. The other one I opened, I sent to a friend overseas because I send him ones open to save a little bit. And and I actually just got Frankenstein recently because the one I got, I sent to my son in college because massive Frankenstein fan. Like we're talking about a kid that the past 4 years, every vacation we go on, if he finds a new copy in a bookstore, we buy it.
Yeah.
Like he has literally like 2 bookshelves of just Mary Shelley and Frankenstein. So there was no way that was not going to college. So I have to open my set like now.
And you told me that because you know, he feels about Frankenstein the way I feel about Christmas Carol, where when you told me that he got the figure and really loved it, and you know, that feedback from someone that appreciates that story as much as they do, that definitely hit hard.
Yeah, and he really he was just like, it's so perfect. Right, pointing out like the scar, like a different scar, like that it was done the right way, like not the way like modern movies or media would have done it. And like just like he was really blown away by the attention of the details to the story that he loves. So that was phenomenal. Like every figure obscura is like a home run, like to me. Like I think they're just amazing.
I also love the fact that you are saying your favorite is probably Ghost of Christmas Past. Other people are saying how much they loved the Egyptian God set. Doorclear is right here saying, if I could keep just one figure from 2024, it would be Frankenstein's creature. I think that's one of the really special parts of that line as well, is it does have something for everybody. Maybe not every release is going to be specifically for everybody, but because it's got such variety, I think that there's a really good chance that within a calendar year, we're going to drop a figure obscura that is just going to absolutely rocket to the charts for you personally.
For me?
For anybody. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, for anybody. Yeah. Because it's broad. Yeah. It's
so broad.
Yeah. And it's done so well. Just from packaging to, every aspect of it is done extremely well. And the figures are high quality. And now we're seeing these new tooling for a lot. And it's like, it's really cool. Like I don't think if you asked me 5 years ago if that would happen, like to see like new tooling just for figure obscura, I'd be like, no way. No. But like now it's like it's amazing. And I know from the shows that we get the privilege of doing all year, it's the showstopper pieces that when people see them, they're like, oh, what is that? Like it draws them into the table to see the other stuff, and then they're looking at the cosmic and the mythic, and unless you're already a fan. But if you're just a casual walker and you see, like, I remember one RetroCon, it was the Santa Claus, and they were like, people were just like, what is that Santa? And people were buying it and they don't know anything about anything, but they just want it Santa.
So figures are very weird at shows because I find that figures are either pure fire or they don't sell. And to me, it really depends on the audience. If the audience is predominantly existing fans, they don't do as well because figures are such an event unto themselves, right? The fact that we drop the teaser on Friday, do the sale on Saturday, and, contrary to popular belief, I know that some people were like pointing out that Ghost of Christmas Past didn't sell out as quickly as some of the past ones did. And I have to bite my tongue sometimes and not say like, well, number one, we put up more than we have in past. And our goal isn't to sell out in an hour. Our goal is to meet demand. Our goal is to make sure that across a week or so, there's enough that people that are coming in can actually get it.
Yeah.
But because it is such an event, when you go to shows, most of the Legions fans, they've already had their shot at that figure. They've already kind of gotten their fill. So they're there for a lot of other stuff. But to your point, when you're doing a show where there's a lot of new fans, those figures absolutely draw people in because of that recognizability of a Headless Horseman or a Frankenstein's creature or a Father Christmas.
Yeah. Yeah, big time. It's super cool. And like the god set, the Egyptian god set, like I feel again that might be a little overlooked. I know everyone loved it, but I feel like it didn't get the attention. It might get more attention later, like where someone might like just rediscover it, because they're incredible. There's a lot of stuff packed in there. Like it's almost becomes a little overwhelming where you're like, this is a lot. Like this is a lot.
Someone was saying earlier that they could be museum pieces, and that's exactly what Eric was going for. Our friend Curtis is here saying Figure Obscura is the most exciting toy drop in the industry. I completely agree. I love what Figure Obscura has become over the years, where it is an absolute event type experience.
Oh, can I check something off my list?
You can.
If you are a customizer and you want to learn some different things just in general, check out my friend Curtis's channel, Art by Ackerman. It's his new YouTube channel. You can look it up that way. I'm sure he'll drop it in the comments. He's doing some good stuff on there because he's showing some general technique from simple to advanced, from all different aspects. And it's not all live. It's a lot of videos you can go back and reference. And I don't know if you checked it out, Jeremy, but I did, and it looks pretty nice. If he delivers on half the things that he's saying he's going to do, and we know Curtis, he's like a choo-choo train. He stays on track, and he's going to stay on track and do it. And he just dropped a video with our friend Eric LeBron on making gargoyles. So yeah, check out that channel.
Yeah, it's very cool. I mean, I love that he's doing that, because for years I did a lot of that stuff. Hell, I'm the one that gave Eric LeBron. I did those gargoyles years ago. And I remember when Eric first got his start, him reaching out to me asking, hey, is it cool if I copy some of your customs? And I was like, of course it is. Absolutely. That's why I put up, the information and the recipes and all that stuff. In the early days of my customizing, I was so focused on educating and trying to get people going. And it's one of the things that I kind of miss doing, but it's one of the things I've had to sacrifice a little bit with how busy I've become. So the fact that someone, as talented and as just respected in this community as Curtis is, kind of taking the baton on that a little bit and starting to do similar content for the new group of customizers that are being introduced to this line. I can't say enough about how much I love that.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. And the stuff what they do with the customizing studio is awesome. I don't know if you saw it, Jeremy, but at Legion's Con, they had a pamphlet that Maverick made. Did you see the pamphlet?
Yeah, it was I have it in back. Yeah,
it's great. Like it blew people away. Like, and I asked them, I'm like, give me a stack of them. And I was giving them out at my booth because people were like, oh, that's really cool, but like, I'm not ready to paint yet. And I'm like, here, take this pamphlet. And he was kind enough, Maverick was kind enough that he gave me like the file so I can print them and send them out to people, or, have the PDF available on the website that people can just open it and look, because those are so many questions that people have constantly.
And I've always found, I've said this so many times, I've always found it so rewarding to take people from I'm afraid to customize to getting started. Like that gap right there, getting people comfortable. I mean, Matt Stein has jokingly said, or not jokingly, but said all the time about, start with the dots. That video I did, just being like, dude, start with the dots. But like, that's what I always found, where that introduction to customizing type piece, that's where I found the most rewarding experience to put out content about that and get people going. I absolutely love that.
Yeah, I mean, that's great.
People like Matt, people like Eric LeBron, these guys are just behemoths of our customizing right now that have come up, in those years since I started. And I love the fact that they're taking the torch, they're running with it, they're putting out great stuff. At the same time, you still have people, Dennis is in the conversation today, that you still have people like Dennis that have been here since, day one, chugging along, putting out great stuff, also being very open with his expertise and, his skill set to help people out all the time. He's done multiple sessions at Legions cons to, educate people. His session with Eric last year, Eric Miller, was so widely praised and everything. So I love all of that. This is all part of, I think, being a contributing member of this community.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing. And it's funny because like I did the same thing. Like I started painting the buttons, painting the rivets. And then I think you taught me like how to dry brush. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. And it is like when you do that first dry brush, just simple armor dry brush, you're like light bulb, world changing. That's where you hit the point where you're like, I can do this and it looks pretty decent. Now let me try this. So yeah, it's awesome, man. I love it. I loved it. I think we hit a little lull for like with customizing where it was like, people, it was more about like the figures and the popping, swapping, like, and now I think we're coming back around where we're seeing more people giving it a try, like where they're like, yeah, I'm going to try this. So it's exciting.
Yeah, I love it. I love that. So big year for Figure Obscura. 3 really, really solid releases. 3 very different releases too. We've got, ancient mythology and ancient, deities and everything. A theme that we said we absolutely plan on revisiting. Then we get a piece of, classic horror literature, a character that, while obviously it's based in literature, Frankenstein's creature has transcended literature. It's become, an iconic part of just popular culture. And then following up last year's Christmas Carol with a second entry in that. So 3 very different kinds of characters, 3 very different aesthetic type of characters. Love what we did this year. And I have the benefit of knowing what's coming in 2025. So I can see the follow-up. So I can kind of look at it as even a bigger picture. And it makes me so excited for what's on the docket.
I can't really say anything because I'm jealous. I want to know what's on the docket. No, I don't. I don't want to know what's on the docket.
You want to be surprised.
I do. I always am. I do. I don't. I love the surprise of Figure Obscura. It's part of the fun.
It is. So now that's a lot of what we released. I think as we get towards the end of the year, we start looking at a big thing that happened at Legions Con, and that would be the Legions Armory experience. So I have to ask, did you even have time to go through and make an Armory night?
Well, let's have full disclosure here. When you came to me and put your arm around me and said, why don't you go do the Armory? And I was like, no, I'll do it whenever. And you had a look of shock, like, what? You don't want to do it? I'm like, no, I'll do it later. Because like, I am hyper focused, right, on like the task at hand. So like if my task is to like, orchestrate this booth, set it up, do whatever, like that's what I'm doing. And the way I see it, like I don't want to take an experience from a fan. I guess like in my head, I thought it was going to be a very limited like quantity of that experience for people. So I'm like, I'll let a fan do it. Like that's like let them experience. Not that I'm not a fan too, because I am, but it's just the way I am. And then I did. I walked in there, and Greg was. I forget what I walked in there. I think I was looking for George. I wanted to give him something, and Greg was like, "Did you do this?" And I'm like, "No." And he made me because it's Greg. Like you're not going to say no. So and I'm like, I got to get back to the booth, and he's like, "No, we're going to run through." So he did a run through. And I think it was about 30 seconds. He's like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, red. He's like, all right, this. And then at the end, George checked me out and I went back and I like had it in a bag. Didn't think about it. But when I got home and like everything settled down and I made it, oh man, I was like, why did I not do that? Like, a lot.
Well, dude, that's what Curtis is saying right here. He's literally saying, worst mistake I made was waiting to put my Armory figures together till I got home. And he just said, I definitely would have gotten more.
Yeah. Like I've talked to Curtis about it. I've talked to other people about it. Like, no, Ninya was different because like, I think David Williams, who's next to me, I think he had his open right away. Yep. So we all kind of like, we got to play with it and do, and I knew like, I need that. but like, yeah, no one was really like throwing them together. So you didn't get that impact of a complete figure.
Yeah.
And everyone, like, once they got home, everyone was just like, oh my God, this thing is crazy. Like, they're so great. And I wish I had every color. Like, I was just like, this is so cool. Like, I love that. So good.
Yeah. So I didn't play with the Armory experience until I got home after Legion's Con. So for everything, for all of the, I mean, I've heard people afterwards talk about and speculate about what went in logistically to creating the Armory experience. And for everyone imagining what a challenge it was, you've barely scratched the surface of how hard it was to figure this out. Because you had to plan out I mean, first off, you had to plan out colors and combinations that could actually go together. You know, it's super easy to say, I want a red knight, I want a purple knight, I want a green knight. Yeah, the straight colors look great, but you wanted there to actually be logical ways where you could combine pieces together. And I will say that the fans who built figures did amazing jobs finding some great combinations. But at the strategy level, trying to plan that out and figure out, like, okay, how many of, this piece do we need? How many of that piece? Because the factory was making them as separate pieces, we couldn't just say, oh, make X amount of this figure. We had to say, make X amount of these evil arms. This many are in red, this many are in green, this many are in purple. So we had to break it down to a level of granularity that we never have to actually do.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So it was very, very challenging. But for all of that planning, for being involved, I mean, this was like a 2-year thing to get us to that point. I did not go through the experience the entire time I was there. When I got home, I had a whole bunch of parts and I laid them out, and I put them all on my table, stared at them for 20 minutes and shut off the light and walked away because it was daunting. Yeah. Like, the level of options, it was absolutely daunting. I don't think it would have been less being there at that table. It was so many possibilities. Greg's here saying, I think I built over 200 builds for people that weekend and loved helping everybody out, seeing what people were building. Well, Greg, I will tell you, I heard from more than one person that they came to the Armory experience and you were like, hey, let me show you how to do this. And they had actually already gone through and they were like, no, I'm okay. And Greg was like, no, let me show you. And they just Greg showed them.
I believe it. Well, I'm thankful though, because if Greg didn't do that to me, I wouldn't have walked out of there with one, and I would have been so upset because yeah, like I'm so happy that I think that the reaction of the fans to that post was phenomenal. Like, the buzz, the talk, like, everyone loved it. And that makes me super happy because I know, like, all my friends, like, you guys all put so much work into it. Like you said, from the back end of it to like what Joe did on the front, like with the setup of the whole table with the tent and the graphics around it and the lighting. And it was just, he did an awesome job. Yeah. And I was so happy to see like that super positive response for weeks afterwards. Like, it just, I'm so proud of you guys for that.
Yeah, I mean, I said leading into Legion's Con, it was the thing I was most worried about, and it's the thing that went so incredibly smooth. I mean, putting Joe and Greg on that was, I mean, perfect. The two of them were like tailor-made to be part of that experience and help people out. It worked so incredibly well. I'm very excited for next year. No big surprise. Armory experience will be back next year. It's going to look a little different, but it's going to be back. And as Joe Vassapolo is saying, it'll be even better next time.
Oh, I'm sure it will. Yeah, it was awesome.
So you just mentioned the Ninian. So the other big, I mean, the Armory wasn't a surprise at Legion's Con. We told people that was coming, so they'd be prepared. The Ninian was a surprise. And I think that checked some boxes for a lot of people. While we saw the, Quotal characters at G-Con at Reign of the Beasts in Basilia and Serpentspire Royal Guard to get that fully bipedal figure the next day, that Snake Man. That's something that people have wanted, reptilian characters in Legions for so long. I think that's going to be on a lot of people's list as a candidate for figure of the year.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's a nice figure. You know, funny side note, I didn't know about it until like noon Saturday. I knew nothing. All of a sudden someone was like, "Oh yeah, the Snake Man figure they have." And I'm like, "What Snake Man? What are you talking about?" And David was like, "This one." And I'm like, "Where the hell did you get that?" He's like at the booth. He's like at the Horseman. And I'm like, "What the hell?" I'm like, "What is this?" I'm like, "Are you kidding me? There's a Snake Man figure?" So yeah, I was like pretty blown away. And it's awesome. Like it is. It's a gorgeous figure. I love it. I love the tail because it's bendy.
The thing that I remember when I first saw, because when I first saw the Ninian, it wasn't colored, right? I saw a rendering of it when Eric was showing me stuff in the design stage. It was all just gray. So the first time I saw it fully colored was at the studio, and it was in one of the paint trays. And if you've ever seen the paint trays, they're just those trays that have the bubble wrap. And what's so interesting about the Ninian is he is actually visually, color-wise, more interesting from the back than he is the front. So when he's laying there, you're like, oh, that looks so good. But then you flip him over and you see all of that red coloring, which once you know it's there, from the front, you can kind of see it peeking out. But before you know it's there, you almost don't see it as much. At least I didn't see it. So when I flipped it over and saw that pattern, that the red colors and stuff, was like, this thing is absolutely gorgeous. I knew it was going to be just a massive hit, and it totally was.
Yeah, the paint is really cool on it. I love that it's a more like realistic, like herpetology type of look. Like the evolution of such a creature would be that, you know, it's not going to have bright eyes because in nature you don't want a predator to attack a creature's eyes, so the eyes would be camouflaged. So I love that it makes sense on those levels. And you know, I like get geeky with that stuff. Like if it like with sculpts, like when we sell stuff, it's like, no, that doesn't make sense. Like that wouldn't happen. You're not going to have an upside down nose because you'll drown if it rains, right? Like, so like, but that's the way I see it with the paint on that figure is it might not be super flashy from the front, like you said, but like it's hyper realistic to like that evolution of the creature. And again, attention to detail. You can't miss it. I love it. Yeah, right, Dennis. Exactly.
Yep. Big Dub is saying, doing things with the family tonight, but dropping by to wish everyone a fantastic holiday season. It's been a highlight of my year, spending so much time with this community. Dub, have a wonderful holiday season and a wonderful night with your family as well.
Did you see Dub's hammer?
Dude, okay.
I want that hammer. I was like, what is that? That's awesome. I know what it is, but oh man.
Is it from something? Because everyone's
it's from Lord of the Rings. It's Celebrimbor's hammer, like the one that like his father passed it on to him. It's the one that he makes the rings with.
That's cool. Okay. Because I saw it and I did not identify it. Like I didn't know what it was from. Knowing Dub, I should have guessed it was Lord of the Rings, but I didn't immediately identify where it was from. So I saw everybody talking about like, oh my God, this is awesome. And I was like, what am I missing? Is it from a video game or something that I don't know? That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I've been like, I don't know. I've been deep diving Lord of the Rings for the past probably like 3 or 4 months. I don't know why. You know how you get in those things like where you're like, this is, and I've been doing like Lord of the Rings, like heavy. And like my sensei Patrick is like guiding me through the Silmarillion, even though I've read it years ago and less than years ago. It's thick. Like, have you ever tried it?
I have not.
It's equivalent to like when you're in high school and you have to do Shakespeare. Or like I'm old enough that when I was in high school, our senior year, you had to read the Bible, not in a religious sense, but more in the like analyzing like the literature of it. It's thick and it's tough to get through. And I'm trying and I'm doing there, and it's wonderful. Like the stories are amazing that Tolkien like set up. But yeah, I've been on that deep dive. So as soon as I saw that hammer, I knew right away. I'm like, oh, where'd he get that?
I'm trying to catch up because I've got a little bit of time off coming up after this week. So I'm trying to catch up on just some like shows that I've been behind on that have come out that I was like super excited for that I haven't had a chance to watch. So that's my goal between now and the end of the year.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, I heard people freaking out about Cobra Kai, and I love Cobra Kai. It's an absolute guilty pleasure. So I've got to finish the episodes of that.
I agree. It's like my wife doesn't watch it. She's just like, "What are you doing?" She's just like, "What are you watching?" And I'm like, "I'm sorry. I can't stop."
Mine's exactly the same way.
Yep.
So I think that covers a lot of 2024. Interestingly, a mix of pre-order stuff. We got the Big Wave and Poxis. We got the Outpost Zaxius wave. It was tough with Necronominus being delayed. That also pushed back All-Star 6, and it kind of created a little bit of a logjam there. So with that on the water, we're seeing some of that logjam free up, and my expectations are that from a pre-order fulfillment standpoint, 2025 is going to be a very big year. I expected 2024 to be much bigger than it was in that regard. So I think it's getting bumped to 2025. But in addition to those things, we just went through a lot of in-stock stuff available in 2024. We're going to see that in 2025 as well. And I think it's good, to kind of segue right now into a little bit kind of looking ahead, some of the things that perhaps you're excited for in the potential new year. And that could be things that you think are going to get delivered. That could be things you're looking out for.
Well, I mean, obviously Necro would be my biggest desire. And I already said Ox Crew, super excited for that. What else is there? Ox Crew 2, but that's I need the first one first.
Yeah.
What else we got? I feel like I answered this already, so I'm a little stumbly.
Again, obviously Necro. I mean, on a personal level, for a variety of reasons, I'm really excited for these book projects. I'm really excited.
Oh yeah.
The first 10 years book is a lot of fun, and we're going to be having updates on a lot of this stuff coming soon. But I'm excited to get that out there just because I think it's going to be a cool collector piece to have. But before this call, I was doing some editing on the lore book, and to finally get that out, hopefully next year, I just want people to be able to read it. I just want to be able to talk about the story with people in a way that I haven't been able to. The only person I can really talk about it in depth with is typically Eric. So I'm looking forward to getting this stuff out there.
Yeah, that's cool. I think that's going to be a big game changer too, to have a a reference for the story. Because I mean, even to this day, a lot of people still do wonder. If it's a new person, they'll be like, "Well, what is this based on? What is this?" And there is a great story. There has been. I always enjoyed the bio stories and piecing them together, and it was fun. But to have it all in one place and to have it a little more cohesive and fill in some of the blanks. Yep. As a reference alone is very, very, very exciting.
We just saw on the Cabal, someone this week saying, "Hey, I'm new to the line. Is there some place that I can get up to date on the lore and everything?" So there's clearly a hunger for that. There's a thirst for that, whatever. What about Reign of the Beast? So Reign of the Beast, this is, my last show of the year. So I won't have another show before that pre-order ends. That pre-order ends on December 29th. Again, I would encourage people, if you want to take advantage of those savings. Last week, I kind of talked about what those savings were. The direct discount is going to be anywhere from $10 to $20 per figure. I think I just just watched the amazing Dorklear kind of breakdown video for this wave. If you haven't seen it yet, go check that video out. It's great. But, he also breaks down the pricing in great detail. The all-in is $125 less and what you're going to pay if you get these down the road, whether it's at
crazy.
retail or at a show. So I mean, huge savings. Only just over a week left to get that, but I'm curious. Again, we haven't talked since Legion's Con. Which figures in this wave really kind of revved your engine? Which ones were you most excited for?
I really like the lion. Is it Leodicius is the name, right? Yeah, that's awesome. The cackler is super cool because again, the mechanics, like I want to see.
You want to see how that works?
I want to see that. I want to see the Four Horsemen version of that thing. Yep. So I'm super excited for that. The female figures are gorgeous. Like I love Bastet is awesome. I really like all of them. I would say, not to be negative, but like the ones I'm a little like lukewarm would be like the Centurion or the the Roman. He's cool, like super cool, and I'm not gonna not get him, but like he pales a little compared to the other ones. Yeah.
Well, he's also the one, and we even had people at Legion's Con say this. They were like, did you throw him in because you felt like you needed a human? And it's totally true. I mean, we kind of did. Like, there was a point that as the wave was getting built out, we were like, hey, we don't have that figure in here that's going to appeal to, I mean, I hate to say it, but the Joe Russos of the world, the people that want that heroic human type character. And, I think that we worked it into a way that it makes sense. But yeah, visually, he's definitely one that stands out in the wave as, one of these things is not like the other. But he's also, there's a certain group of people that he's by far their favorite because that's the type of stuff they're really
absolutely
into.
Yeah, no, and like you said, it does make sense. And when I thought about it, it does because it's like a guard. He's like a guard for Leodicius. But yeah, I mean, they're super cool. The Jin is really cool. And the let's come, if you're a fan and you're not buying that all in right now, like, come on, don't regret it, guys. Like, that's a huge savings. Like, well, that's a gift. Merry Christmas. Like it
is. It absolutely is. And I will say this. So I know there are some people that are like, hey, I'm holding off on this because I'm waiting for that dragon in January. We're going to announce this tomorrow. I alluded to this a little bit last week, but the dragon is being moved. The dragon is being moved to March. So for people that were really worried that this is going to end and the dragon's going to start immediately, and they've got to have that money put aside for the dragon, for a variety of reasons, including separating it from Reign of the Beasts, we've decided to move the dragon over to March. But there's more than just that reason. This is, Len, as you saw at Legion's Con, I mean, that thing it's unprecedented.
Oh, yeah.
When you love the mechanics, when we're making a new figure, even if we don't have pricing, we can kind of make some estimates in terms of what our costs are going to be, because it's similar to other stuff we've done. We've never done anything at this scale with this detail. It's just everything is enhanced to a point where we need to make sure we have the information in place so we can price it accordingly. So for a variety of reasons, we've over the last few weeks have had a lot of strategic discussions and decided to move it over to March. So March is going to be where we're going to move that to, which, like I said, hopefully if anyone was hanging on to their pre-order dollars on Reign of the Beasts to make it available for a January dragon sale, you've got a little more breathing room.
Yeah, that makes sense. It makes perfect sense. I didn't know there was a dragon until like late Friday night. And I watched G-Con when I was like, driving there. Well, I wasn't watching it when I was driving. I don't do that. It's illegal. But I was like, I stopped after you guys talked about, what is it called? The stuff the collab stuff. No, I'm sorry. The sideshow thing. Oh, so like, I thought you were done. Oh, and I was like, okay. And then I got into the show. I got in. I did my setup. I'm doing everything. And someone's like, "What'd you think of that dragon?" I'm like, "What are you talking about? You full of shit. There's no dragon." and then I think someone showed me their phone, and they're like, "No, look." And I'm like, "Oh, son of a gun! There's a dragon."
Oh, we got a super chat.
A super chat.
Van Johnson saying, "Our Lord and Savior JG has spared our wallets from the dragon slaughter. Thank you for your kindness and mercy. Yes, you are very welcome, my subject. I did it all for you."
Yeah, I mean, I know I sound like I said it just a few minutes ago, but that all-in price is phenomenal. It reminds me of the Deluxe Legion Builder all-ins, where it was just like nice, clean. What was it, $200? Like clean price that you're like, oh, that's a no-brainer.
Yep.
Like, and that's what when you guys announced the all-in pricing on that on the Reign of the Beast, I was like, come on, that's a no-brainer. Like, you gotta get that. Like,
the all-ins are crazy because obviously there's already the discount for the actual pre-order. So every one of the figures is $10 to $20 cheaper than it's going to be down the road. And then you do the all-in where you discount it even further. And it really does make it a very significant savings. And I mean, of course, again, check out Dorklair's video because he does a great job of explaining how, if you're getting only one figure, it may not, the savings may be negligible, but if you're getting multiple figures, especially if you're going all ins, no matter where you live, if you've got to pay shipping and all that stuff, the savings are so significant that you're going to be hard pressed not to come out ahead. And now for at least US orders, the site has that pay in 4 installments option that helps out as well.
Yeah. I mean, and let's face it, there's something magical about an all-in.
Oh, dude,
right? Like when people
yeah.
might not experience that because like now we have so many venues or like different like pipelines to get your figures and you and I, like, we probably think like everyone knows that, but no, like all-ins are like kind of magical. Like I remember my first one was Arethyr, and like you open it up, it's all like nested and packed the right way. You're taking them out one by one and you're like, oh, this is so cool. Like it's really cool. It's a lot more special than just getting like, I'm going to grab this one from this guy, and 2 weeks later, I'm going to grab this one.
So I know your answer because you don't open anything, but when you pop open, do you open a figure and then open it, or do you take them all out of the box first and lay them all out and like appreciate them in package before you start tearing into them?
I don't like literally lay them all out, but maybe I do. Yeah. Like I'll take them out. I haven't gotten an all-in a bit. Like, so let's be honest, like, cause I don't, I mean, I don't get them that way, but I remember with the Arethyr one and with the Lithia, like, definitely looking at them all at once and then put them back. I put them all back the same way they were there. And then I'll go and take them out one by one and open them separately, that. And then I'll play with it, and then I'll just like throw all the extra hands away and throw it on a shelf.
So beyond Legions, what other toys? We both collect other lines as well. Are there any other things in 2024 that you picked up that you're super excited about?
Well, because you know me and we've had this journey together. Is Mezco 112 line is my other like extreme passion. I love that Mezco 112, and I'm like guilty of like owning way too much of it. And there was stuff that I missed. Like I kind of laid off a little this last year on the retail stuff. If it was something I thought was exclusive that they were dropping direct, I still grabbed it. I didn't get my Indiana Jones yet because the credit card they had was that thing where like it expired and I didn't realize it. So I got like a little later on it, but I'm a little behind on those, so I'm missing some. But like I freaking love them. I love Mezco, and I not knowing really like what's coming, because that's the fun stuff, is the stuff you don't know about, right? Like I know there's stuff we have on order, obviously, but I really like the Junkyard Joe that they just did. I think that's super fun. It's a cool character. Figure. And trying to think what else I like popped open that was just a good time.
I think my only problem that I have with Mezco is because I'm a Rumbler, so I love the original characters. But what frustrates me is they do their like RumbleCon, they show teasers of new figures, and like they'll do a RumbleCon and show new figures, and it's like, you haven't even given us the figures from last RumbleCon. Like, there's still stuff you showed a year ago that hasn't been, and I don't mean it hasn't shipped yet. I mean, you haven't actually solicited it yet.
Yeah,
so
I know exactly what you're saying. Like tangerine peaches. Yeah, like the tangerine peach. Like we saw her a year ago, right? And we never we
but
just
at least
got
she
the
came
drop
out
now.
But like, they showed Gomez on a motorcycle.
Yeah.
I think I can't remember if it was the recent one where they showed Alistair Gangrene or if it was the one before. Again, there's so much stuff that they show that doesn't get released that I get confused. They showed a giant grub like 2 years ago.
Yeah. Well, think about the Decepapod gang, right? Like, you made customs of those. How long ago was that now? 3 years ago? 4 years ago? That was a long time.
That was when the first Doc Knock came out, because they were on the shirt, and I was like, I'm making those customs.
Yeah. I mean, I get it, and it's fun, but I think if you want to keep a cohesive kind of story arc thing going, you gotta it was cool. Like, you got the Gangrene Estates or whatever they're calling it. It's like almost like subgroups of Rumble, but like, I mean, I know
that's up my alley, because the Rumblers, like, I'm not into the super like New York street style, like Vapor type stuff. That's not my real thing. I love Pink Skulls, don't really care for Vapor, but I love the Eldritch horror. So Doc Knock, I totally dig that and stuff. But all of the, like, anything that looks like it could be a Scooby-Doo villain, up my alley.
Oh yeah,
Baron Benz, totally, that stuff's up my alley.
Yeah, didn't they show like some almost like a mech suit for Baron Benz or something?
The Leviathan armor, but it was just, I mean, it was like from the midsection up. So from that point, it didn't look dramatically different than Baron Benz. I have to imagine that once we see the full thing, it'll look fairly different.
Yeah. I mean, they have their ups and downs, and I get the criticisms that people have. They're obviously have a very different way they want to handle their transparency and how they talk to people, and that's how they've been since the beginning. It's not it's not like 5 years ago they told you everything. You didn't know shit. You didn't know anything then either.
And for me, it's not even so much the transparency as much as I want stuff that they show to come out. I'm excited. I'm genuinely excited for it. The stuff that I've gotten from them this year, I've absolutely loved. Absolutely loved.
Yeah, and the Rumble stuff is super fun. It's super fun because it's like, I think because it's their own, property, so they can fit a little more in with it, and they don't have to charge as much. Sometimes I get disappointed if I grab something that's like a property that they're obviously paying for, so there's not as much in it, and you paid
the recent the Deadpool and Wolverine they solicited recently. If you look at what you get for that price tag, you very clearly were like, okay, that's licensing. Like, they've got to be paying a decent amount for this. But to your point, the stuff they don't pay licensing for, they pack it with value for sure.
Yeah. Oh. You know what else? Go ahead. Say what Bill's. No, I don't want to talk about Glyos. You know what else I really love? Go away, Bill. Keep your Glyos. Stop pounding on my door with your book of Glyos. Because I had you cover my booth so I could go get one.
Yep.
The what is it called? Unparalleled. Yeah, Odious.
Yep. Odious.
I love that guy. Oh,
yeah, cool. Someone else was mentioning that earlier, saying they picked up an Odious this year, and they absolutely loved it. I think it was Drunk Gizmo might have said it.
Yeah, I got the original one. I missed the original one, and my buddy Dylan, Dylan, he had an extra, so he hooked me up, and I loved it. And then when I heard he was at the show, I'm like, I gotta get it. And there's just something goofy, cool, fun about it,
I picked up the original at the show to support Wade. You at the show, did you buy the show exclusive one?
Yeah, that's when I had you watch my booth. Remember, I was like, and you're like, "Well, go get it," and I'm like, "Okay," and I did, and I got it. Apparently, I got it right before he sold out, and then I got one of the blanks too. So I got the show exclusive, and I got a blank one.
I'll be honest, I like the Odious I got, but the other ones he's showing, I think, are looking even cooler. Like the Arctic one he showed,
I knew you were going to say that. Yep.
The Army one he showed. I dig the original. I'm happy I have the original because the original feels very much kind of like Street Gomez to me, right?
Yep.
Where it's like, hey, this is table stakes. This is the standard edition. I love the fact that he's showing some of these other, versions of Odious.
Yeah, I love it too. I think it's really cool. I'm down. Yeah. I apologize. Like I didn't know much about him or that he has some massively huge YouTube or I think I don't know who filled me in. I think maybe Van or Jordan did at Legions Con. And I'm like, I don't know. I like the figure. So it's super cool. Now I follow him on the socials now, so I get to see it and it's really cool.
So I won't talk about Glyos other than to say yes. Glyos,
no, you can talk about Glyos.
Well, Glyos was a big part of my collecting this year as well. I got introduced to them in a big way. I bought my first one I've mentioned before in 2022 at Legions Con, but it was really last year at PowerCon that I hung out with the Glyos artists and really went all in. So this year has been a big thing for Glyos, but I think one of my interesting collecting changes this year is I've been doing a lot more vintage. For years.
Really? Wow.
Like, dude, so for a while, there was a point that I sold everything that wasn't 1/12 scale. I was like, if it's not 1/12, I don't want it. I want to get rid of all my 1/6, everything like that. And I didn't have a lot of it, but I sold it all. And then I was at the point where like anything that was vintage, I was like, I don't want vintage. I want all the new versions of the stuff, the better looking, modern looking stuff. But the nostalgia bug has really hit in a big way. Even just stuff like this, buying the Fisher Price figure to go with my Shadow Circle. Picking up a version of the Mighty Man and Monster Maker to pair with the Cosmic set. Hunting down Shogun Warriors. A couple of years ago at Toylanta, I picked up that Shogun Warrior Godzilla that I always wanted, and it was like that opened up a door for me. So now when I go to toy shows, it's one of the reasons I'm so excited for shows like Toylanta, like Joe Fest, is the vintage stuff that they have at those. That's really been something I've been hunting down, and I did not see that collecting change coming, but I'm loving it.
Yeah, that I wouldn't. Yeah, if you asked me that 3 or 4 years ago about you, I would never have said that. But I kind of went in in an opposite circle because I started that way. I was big vintage before, and then because I would look at back then vintage was pretty inexpensive. You could pick up a Skeletor for $5 at a show, and I would look at a new figure. Forgive me, but even Mythic Legions, I'm like, well, I'd spend $30 on that for if I get a Skeletor for $5. And that was my thought. And then I went the direction of where I did dump all my vintage. I kept my A-Rod Joes, the 4-inch, the 80s. I still have a lot of those, but I did get rid of all my Motu vintage. Yep. I have a couple, but I did go kind of full circle reverse,
Yeah, people asking if I watch vintage toy hunts. Dude, I don't watch YouTube. I'm so busy with stuff, and I've said this before, I need silence when I work because I'm typically writing. So I just don't watch any of that. Drunk Gizmo saying Muskecon will have vintage stuff. Dude, Muskecon is where I got my Metlar and Humanoids last year. I got it from Tardy's at Muskecon. So yeah, that contributed as well. But yeah, I don't know, something about the vintage stuff. I've definitely been enjoying hunting that stuff down. It's a lot of fun. The nostalgic aspect of it has been a lot of fun. But to your point, I remember when I wanted the Fisher Price Brainoid figure, and I was like, dude, you don't have any of these. And you even said you were like, dude, I used to see those at shows all the time. They were just everywhere at shows, super cheap. And then all of a sudden they just dried up, and now it's actually a fairly expensive figure.
Yeah, I had a weird thing going where I was collecting those adventure people, the Fisher Price adventure people a lot. I had hundreds of them, because you can get them for next to nothing. Or if I would see someone online, selling them, I'd just buy them because they're like $1 each. I had so many of them because as a kid, I actually had them. Yeah. Like I remember it, so I loved them. Like and then like I kind of was like, what am I gonna do with all these? And I just got rid of them all. Like and
I gotta get something.
I had the Adventure People parachute, and I actually still have it. And that was the best toy ever because you just like wrap that thing up the right way and throw it up, and you come floating down. It was amazing.
So the other thing that I've gotten into, much to my regret, Wyatt just said, next year we're going to get you into Sofubi. So these vinyl Mondo things. So I picked this one up. So this is a character by an artist called Attack Peter. Super cool dude. I've had the chance to meet Peter a bunch of times and talk to him. He's a really cool guy. He's a Legions fan. And this is his character. So I really wanted one of his pieces of art. So when this one the character's name is Takaro. When it got put up, I ended up buying it. It's a Mondo piece. He's an art director at Mondo. And I absolutely loved it. It's not superposable. It's basically a vinyl. Absolutely loved it. And now I've started going down this horrible path where I'm buying these like Mondo vinyl figures. Like I just pre-ordered a Urban Aztec Ghidorah. That's, dude, stunning. Do you know what it is?
No, I have no idea. I will say that those vinyls, if there was something that would catch me, a new line or thing to collect, it those like vinyls, because I see like the ones like Diego gets and those guys are, and yeah, those are really cool. Like that is a restraint thing where I'm not doing it on purpose, but I love that. Like
look at this. Look
at
this thing. Like, first off, I do dig Godzilla. So the fact that I know this character, this is by an artist named Jesse Hernandez. Again, super cool dude. I love his art. Really, really neat. But I'm getting sucked into ordering this type of stuff. So I have this on pre-order, but it's opened up this rabbit hole for me that now I need to go back and get an Urban Aztec Godzilla. And they're all sold out, and they're all like triple what they originally sold.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask you if the aftermarket was nuts for that.
Why gave me a super chat, says, put this towards the rabbit hole.
Yeah, they are really cool. Like I really dig the whole designer aspect of it and the art, the single art aspect of it. I have to say, I am also, and I didn't mention, I also do the Mondo 1/6 Motu. So that's kind of a money hole that I throw into. So
I told you I got rid of all my 1/6.
Yeah.
Then I got a really good deal on the only one I had was Merman, and I sold it.
Yep, I remember that.
Like, and then I got a really good deal from someone on the timed edition Skeletor and the Panther. And I'm like, I'm just going to get those two. I got those two, and they're amazing. Like, so good.
Yeah.
And then I got a bunch of really good deals on the bad guys. I got the Trapjaw, and I got the Beast Man. And I said, I'm only going to get the bad guys. And I broke that with Orko just because I thought Orko was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Dude, I just pre-ordered the Buzz Off.
Did you? Yeah. That Beastman's insane, right? Like, come on. Yeah. Beastman's crazy. I missed Orko. Shout out if anyone has an Orko, let me know. I've been trying to find him since like you grabbed him, and like he's not so easy. Yeah, I really love him. I actually didn't do Buzz Off because as a kid, he wasn't like a huge like figure to me. Like I didn't have it. Like it didn't, and I gotta limit it. They're 6 scale. They're huge. Like, and there's just, I am redoing my office. It's been going slow, but I have like the Detolf set up and they're not filled. But as I look at the space I have, I'm like, I have to like make limits on this,
Yeah. Well, I I feel like me buying Buzz Off was a bad decision.
Why?
Because I feel like that's me breaking my seal. Like that's me breaking.
Oh, now you're gonna want more of the good guys.
Well, because see, that's the whole thing is I don't care about He-Man, Man-at-Arms, or Tila.
Oh, Man-at-Arms is awesome.
Dude, it's a great figure. But you just mentioned Buzz Off. I didn't have Man-at-Arms.
Right, yeah. Well, that makes sense.
For some weird reason, for all of the Motu I had, either I didn't have Man-at-Arms or I didn't care about him enough that I've wiped it from my brain. But I had Buzz Off. I loved Buzz Off. Like there are a number of hero characters that they could do that I would actually be excited for. So I've gone from I'm just getting villains to I'm getting villains and I'm picking and choosing heroes. But my fear is that I'm going to get to a point that I'm only missing a couple, and the completist in me is going to be like, dude, just hunt them down. Just hunt down the few you're missing and check that box off.
Yeah, that's what's going on with me in the Mezco 112, because there's stuff that I passed in the past that I was like, no, I don't need that. Like, I don't need that Ghost Rider. Like, I just don't, it doesn't click anything.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, oh, I need that Ghost Rider because I don't have it. And I have like a lot of 112, like, because, I have a lot of the Marvel, the DC, like, I think I like to say that I'm like, probably like 85 to 90% complete on that whole line, which is kind of scary because it's a lot of stuff. But like, I'm like, now I'm in the same way. But I don't get how you don't have He-Man and Battle Cat. Like, you gotta have them.
It's because of the expense. That's the expense in some
yeah.
Because I'd rather have Skeletor and Panther. Even though He-Man and Battle Cat are more iconic, I like Skeletor was one of the first figures I ever remember buying. So Skeletor is just going to be the one, besides the fact that he looks cool. It's just being the one I want. Are you still doing G.I. Joe classifieds?
Yeah, sadly.
And
that's not a knock on them at all, because they're awesome. But like, sadly, because like a lot of people I talk to are like me, and we're just not opening them. Like they're like literally getting toted, and like,
I haven't stopped. I've loved everything I've gotten, but it just has worked out lately that the figures they've been releasing, I don't care about. Like they're just characters that either I never had, or I'm like, they look great, but I think I saw a preview, a render of Blowtorch, and that's one that I was like, oh, I'm excited for Blowtorch. But a lot of the other ones that they've been showing lately, it's just not ones that I had. And that is one line that I've been able to say, if I didn't have it as a kid, I'm not buying it. So I have been able to maintain that with that line.
Well, that's good. Yeah, I mean, they're definitely hitting the point now where they're at the point where I stopped as a kid, so I don't have that like feels for it, And I think like Road Pig was the first one where I didn't have Road Pig. I didn't know him until I was more collecting now. So like that, I remember looking at him specifically and being like, like I don't really think I need him because it just doesn't like, I got him anyway though.
Well, see, I have Zartan, and I have the three main Dreadnoks, but I never had Road Pig. I never had Naugahyde or whatever. As cool as that figure looks, I was just like, nope. I've got my three Dreadnoks. I'm not getting any more.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think you and I kind of like stopped Joe's at the same point when they were being made in the past. Like I remember there was a distinctive cutoff. I want to say it was like 87 or 88 was like the last of them, and anything past that, I don't really know that well. But there's still some cool ones that, like, when I look at them, I'm like, that's a pretty cool figure.
Sure, there's a lot of cool ones that I've passed up on, but being good with that. But what I'm realizing is instead of buying $25 Joe classifieds, I'm getting sucked into,
$275 Safubies.
There's all these Mondo things.
Yeah.
Wyatt, the other one that I have coming to is for my anniversary. My wife got me the James Groman Godzilla, like the blue one. So I have that one coming as well. which means I have 3 coming, and 3 of anything is a collection. So now I'm all done. I got to get them all.
Isn't that the guy that does the karaoke in the minivan with celebrities?
Ooh.
James Groman?
No, James Groman is the guy he's the artist that designed like Madballs and My Pet.
Oh, cool. All right. I didn't know that. All right.
But that's it, dude. So that's part of the story. I knew who he was as an artist a couple years ago at PowerCon. There was a lunch that we had at PowerCon that it's one of my it was one of my pinch myself, I work at Four Horsemen Studios moments, where I went into the green room at PowerCon to have lunch, and it was Eric, myself, and Nate. So it was the 3 of us, which just having lunch with Eric and Nate alone would have made me super happy. But we were at the table with James Groman, who I just mentioned, did Madballs and My Pet Monster and everything. Super interesting guy. There was the guy that created Boglins was at that table as
Clark.
well.
Jim Clark or Clark.
And then there was this guy who his kind of tagline was like he shot the Star Wars universe or something. He was the original photographer that Kenner used for the catalogs for all of the original Star Wars lines in the 70s and early 80s. He was just sitting there telling like war stories about shooting, Luke Skywalker figures back in, the late 70s. And it was just like I was just sitting there soaking it all in, was just like, this is such an amazing conversation to be a fly on the wall. And I wasn't even a fly on the wall. I was at the table. So just having had a connection and being able to talk to James Groman, super cool guy. And he's a big friend of the studio. So just like I had said, I wanted a piece of Attack Peter's art, I wanted a piece of James Groman's art as well. So when that Godzilla went up, I was like, yeah, dude, I'm totally buying that.
Oh, that's
cool. Or I'm going to tell my wife, hey, buy this for me.
That's awesome. Tim Clark, the one you said with the Boglins, he also did Sectors.
Yeah.
If you remember. And he also did, I think he worked on Fraggles, right? Like he had something to do with Fraggle Rock, I think, which is interesting. He does a lot of local shows. Like he's always at RetroCon. So he must live around me.
He does. He does Shop the Curiosity too.
Oh, does he?
Yep.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, one of my goals for 2025 is to get there. Not as a seller, but as a person, as an attendee. I really want to get to Shop the Curiosity. That's like one of my things for this year.
Dude, you would love that show. Like that.
Oh, I know.
That's a George show. Not like a designer con, like high-end designer toy show being a George show. It's like a weird, unexpected junk type show. And I don't say junk in a bad way. I mean,
I know what you mean. Yeah.
just a amazing.
That's why we're always trying to get George to RetroCon, because if George went to RetroCon, we wouldn't see him. He would disappear. Yes. I always tell him that. I'm like, he would be gone, because it's like, it's massive. And what was the same was the Maryland show was the same way. Like we were totally like we were actually out there buying stuff for George, because we're like, oh, George will love this. Let me buy this, because it's a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah. Trevor's saying that photographer I'm talking about, his name is Kim Simmons, and he says he has books of his Kenner photography. Yeah, he was there selling those books. Nate picked one up. They absolutely gorgeous.
That's cool. That's really cool.
It was a cool thing. But yeah, so we've gone down a bit of a collecting rabbit hole. Someone was saying earlier they like hearing us talk about other toy lines. I do think that's important as well, that we are I mean, I literally am paid to hawk Legion's figures, but in all fairness, I was doing it long before I was drawing a paycheck for it. But at the end of the day, we're both genuine toy fans, so there's a lot of other stuff we're excited for too.
Oh yeah, I think you and I in our personal conversations anymore talk more about non-Legion toy stuff than we do even Legions. Because it's fun. There's so much great stuff out there.
There's a lot of cool stuff. Curious, have you picked up any of the Monster Force stuff?
I did not, and it's funny because I was thinking the That's exactly what I was thinking about just before you said it. Was
Yeah.
that's one I'm looking forward to grabbing like one or two of. I'll tell you what, I really love Chris's D13 stuff. I love the demons. I think the buck is phenomenal, and it's a lot of fun, and they're just goofy and fun, and so I'm looking forward to him, getting that full line out. But yeah, the Monster Force is I'm seeing a lot of buzz around it, and I definitely want to grab one or two to check them out.
Well, it's interesting because I'm not super excited for like the military looking characters. I'm more excited for the monster characters. And a lot of the more monster characters are in like series 2 and beyond. Like series 1 had Dracula, and that didn't really do it for me. And then they have some of the military guys that have vampire heads, but there's a Frankenstein that they call the Donner Party in wave 2. There's the Invisible Man that's in wave 2. Like there's just some cool figures. So I did put one of the wave 1 figures on my Christmas list. So I think my wife is going to get me one.
Nice.
I am dying just to play around with it. But I think that's going to be a wave. That's going to be a wave I absolutely pick and choose. But some of the later releases are ones I'm excited for.
Yeah, that's on my list definitely to grab for sure. I'm picking and choosing some of the Action Force stuff. I'm not buying all of it, but I am picking and choosing different ones. And talk about it's definitely a line that constantly improved. Like his wave 1, which was good. It was decent toys. Is light years away from the newer ones. Yeah. So that's a really neat thing to see, the progression of like materials and use and things like that. And I do enjoy some of those too.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, very cool. I mean, as we're saying, there's so much great stuff coming out, and I can certainly tell people that, back to Legions, 2025 is going to be a big year. One of the things, we've spent the last few weeks putting the finishing touches on the schedule for the year, and it's so different than it was even a few years ago. Like trying to juggle, 3 full waves at this, or 3 full lines at this point. We've got Mythic Legions, we've got Cosmic Legions, we've got Figure Obscura. And 2024 saw the first release in the Graveyard kind of series, the Graveyard Skeletons. That was an absolute huge hit. It would be safe to say that we're going to revisit the Graveyard again. So trying to juggle all of these, brands alongside surprises and in stock things and, other projects like the role-playing game and the books and everything. It's definitely going to be a busy year for sure.
Yeah, definitely. But that's good. I stay busy.
It is good. Now, before we go, one other thing as we look to the new year, a lot of different shows. So our calendar for 2025 is already jam-packed. To that point, Wyatt's asking who's coming out to the Toy Depot Geeking Out show in January. Wyatt, that'll actually be me. So I'm traveling to California. I've actually never been to Disneyland. So I'm coming out there, not driving. I'm flying out there with the family, and we're going to spend a couple days at Disneyland, and then I'm going to do the Geeking Out show in California. That's January. But cool. You've got a number of shows that you are going to be doing as a street team, leading the group, leading the show for us as a street team representative. You have other shows that you're going to be alongside us. What does your 2025 calendar look like for the shows you're going to be involved in?
Well, the first one is not a street team show, but it's the one we've done for years, and that's ZoloCon.
Yep. So you're going to be setting up at Zolo?
Yep, and I'll be right next to you guys setting up, kind of sandwiched between you and D13 Toys. And that's a cool venue. It's a new venue. It's like almost like a whole new show, like a new adventure. So we're going to see what happens there, and that's going to be a lot of fun.
It's always fun.
Yeah, like we refined what we do with Wolf King at shows. As far as like we said in the beginning of the show, it's very hard. There's like almost 600 SKUs on the website.
Yeah.
So I realized that there's no way. Like there's no way. So we have like a different show inventory, not different products, but just like a very set inventory of, I think we're hauling about 150 SKUs to the show now. And I don't think you've seen that yet, Jeremy, but it's really cool the way that Jesse and I figured out to do it. And again, shout out to Jesse Arnold, the steward of Wolf King.
He's right here. I just brought his comment up. Wolf King crew represent.
We have it really organized, and wait until you see it, Zola. You're gonna. It's cool. It's really a nice way to do it, and we found that it really works well. We're gonna make a couple of changes, things to adjust, and that Wolf King setup will be a lot of fun. Good. And then when the next one after that is a street team event at the Lehigh Valley Toy and Comic Show. Okay. And that's kind of like, I look at that as like the kickoff because it's early summer, right? Early June. And that one is fun because it's local. It's literally like 20 minutes from my house. And it's in an area of Pennsylvania that's really, it's like Allentown area, Lehigh Valley, and it's just different. It's a different. We had so much fun there last year, and and for being so close to like the studio in New Jersey, there was a surprising amount of people that didn't know what it was all about. So it was a fun one day, and then after that we have the Maryland Toy Show, which we're doing as a street team, and again that was a phenomenal response to that. Like that was my show of the year. I had a lot. The team, we had fun. It was a great venue, huge show. It was 2 buildings, and
I've heard Mark runs a really great show.
Yeah, he did a phenomenal job because again, like he's a vendor. He's been vending for years. So who's better to do that than a guy that's done it? He knows how to do it right. And for a one-day show, it was freaking awesome. And we met so many new fans and introduced people that are still coming around now that showed up at Legion's Con, and their names that you're seeing like in the Cabal constantly. And I'm like, oh yeah, that guy didn't even know like what Legions were when we met him at Maryland.
That's awesome. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. And it was, I love Maryland. That was a super fun show. And then we
don't have, so Retro's not on this list because they haven't posted the date on their website officially yet. So, but that's usually September.
Yeah, it's usually like the first weekend maybe of September. I think that because the venue that they operate in is very, very large, they need to be a little flexible with the dates, I'm guessing, to get like a decent like deal on it, because it's a big venue. It's huge. So like they don't have the date yet. I had talked to Rose and Tony, and they're looking, it's going to be around the same time of year. And we're going to have the same setup there where they give us a very large amount of space with a lot of tables. And we did a fun little thing where it was like, Pat Boyle did like a little paint session, taught people how to paint like wood technique, and people really enjoyed that. And that's a 2-day. So that's the whole weekend. And that's a fun one too. And then, now, of course,
how close is Retro to like Philadelphia?
To like the center of Philadelphia, it's about.
How close is it to an airport?
You would come into Philadelphia Airport, and it would probably take you like about 45 minutes to get from the airport to the venue. It's from the studio. It's like almost 3 hours or 2.5, from there. I'm trying
to, because you've talked about what a great show it is, and I'd love to go, but I don't know that I want to do that drive.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that live there that would pick you up from the airport. It's not that crazy.
I'm not concerned about the transportation aspect. It's more the like, because there are some times where it's like, oh, it's next to Philly, and you're like, oh, if I fly into Philly, like, it's 2 hours.
Wait, it's literally right next to where Zolocon is, so you're gonna know in February.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because Mike moved Zolocon to King of Prussia. It's the same. It's the same area now. So like when you journey for ZoloCon, then you're gonna have a pure taste of what it would be for retro. Yeah.
Okay. And I am driving for Zolo. So yeah, I'll be going. So I'm gonna, like I just mentioned, I'm doing the show in California in January. I don't know about MegaCon in Orlando yet. I did that one last year. I'm still waiting to see who's going to do that one. February and March is my big month. So March, I will be at Zolo as well. I will be going to MesquiCon on March 22nd. And then I'll end the month at Toylanta. I mean, ZoloCon and Toylanta are just genuinely two of my favorite shows to go to. And then MesquiCon is just a great event because I don't have to work that event. So just being able to go there and enjoy the experience as an attendee is a lot of fun.
I was wrong. I missed one. So I will not be at MesquiCon, but Jesse and Wolfgang Customs will be at MesquiCon. Yes, that's confirmed. Too. Yep. And he does it's not a truncated version of what we do. See, there you go. Thanks, buddy. That's why he's my steward. It keeps me in line. Yes, Jesse's going to be there. And it's not a trimmed down version of Wolfgang. Yeah. He brings, thanks to some support and help from friends like Brett Stoddard, who helps that Jesse with that. It's the full setup. So
MesquiCon's a great show because it's small. It's not very big. There's not a ton of toy vendors there, but you end up getting a lot of FaceTime with the members of the community that are there. So I'm looking forward to that one. Super chat from Van saying, Jeremy, take the PGG chauffeur service. We got you.
There you go.
Thank you very much. Yes, I'll be at Toylanta. Beyond that, right now, I'll be at Shop the Curiosity. I'll be at Joe Fest in June. Obviously, I'll be at Legions Con. The Toy Con New Jersey dates aren't released yet. I typically drive out for Toy Con New Jersey to be involved in that. We're actually doing Canada this year. So we're doing back-to-back months. We're doing San Diego Comic-Con, which I've never been to San Diego Comic-Con, and we're doing Fan Expo Canada. So I'm trying to figure out which of those I'm going to go to. Prior to us booking San Diego, I had anticipated going to Canada. So I do still think that I'm going to do that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes, so that's the motherland for me. My ancestors are from Canada. So
oh, really?
Well, not from. I think this is in Toronto. My ancestors are from Quebec.
Right. Yeah.
But yes, I will be at least going north of the border. But that should be fun. That's actually a street team show with our retailer up there, eCollectibles. So I'm looking forward to going and doing that show. We've had a growing fan base in Canada, so it's exciting to get up there and show some love there.
That's cool. That actually, it's so funny because that in a very roundabout way reminded me of a show that I wanted to tell you that you should watch because it's really funny. And I think we just watched it. I think it's called Sticky.
Sticky?
Yeah, or it's about the Canadian maple syrup heist that happened in real life, like in 2011, I think. But it's totally a fictitious take on it.
Oh, okay.
And it's funny. It's a comedy, and it's freaking awesome. It's only 6 episodes the first season. It's really good, but it's in Quebec. They all have like French Canadian accents and everything. And it's not like any actors or actresses that like we really know, but it's absolutely hilarious. It's
Mike
really
V says it's called Sticky on Amazon Prime.
There you go. Yeah, check it out. It's really funny. It's you'll like it. I know you'll like it.
Before I forget, there is also in September, I'm going to go down. Again, I'm going down south a bunch of times. Apparently, the South treats me very, very well. I do well down there. So there's a show down there called Charlie's Collectible Show that.
I heard that.
Yeah, Big Dub ran that with Ginger Kid Collectibles. I couldn't make it last year, so I think I'm going to go down to. It's a one-day show, but I think I'm going to go do that as well. So I've got a busy year. We've got a busy year. You've got a busy year. All very good stuff, man.
I love it. I love it. I love the shows. Like it's a passion. Like I love it.
Yeah.
I love the hustle, the bustle, the setup. Oh, just do it forever, man.
Dude, we got to get you to Toylanta one day, man.
I know.
Dude,
I really Toylanta's on the list. Yeah,
dude,
that would be cool.
Because going to Toylanta the day before and going to Big Dub's house for his little kind of get together, you have never seen a house or a collection like this. It is amazing. And Big Dub's house is the first time I ever used a bidet.
Oh, all right. Well, a little tushy. All right.
Very fancy.
I know Big Greg speaks highly of it. So
very fancy. Yes, he's living in the lap of luxury down there, let me tell you.
Wow.
But no, I mean, it's super cool to start at Dub's house and just a bunch of people hanging out. But then the show itself is just really, really cool. This year is going to be interesting because it's at a new location, but from what everyone has told me, it's actually an improvement over the previous location. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. That's definitely one that I would love to get to too. Toylanta for sure.
Len,
yes.
Thank you very much for joining me this evening. Thank you for everything.
Yeah,
and thank you for everything that Wolf King Custom has done for the community this year. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful holiday.
You too. Well, let me check my list real quick.
Did you get everything?
Yeah, I think. Happy birthday, Bill.
Oh, yeah.
I want to say that. Yeah, and that's it. That was the last thing. Thank you.
While I'm letting you go now, Len, I'm not really letting you go because I'm just going to put you in the green room and then we're going to come and talk for a little while longer. But we're also getting to see each other pretty soon because it is actually the Four Horsemen holiday party this weekend, and I believe you will be attending.
Yes, I will. Fancy.
So I will be seeing you there as well.
I will see you there, buddy. Thank you.
And everybody else who is tuning in, thank you so much. May you have a wonderful holiday season this year. Remember, again, this is my last show of the year, so I won't be back to remind you beyond today to tell you to get onto storehorseman.com, get your Reign of the Beast pre-order in. As always, this company depends on pre-orders from Legionnaires like you so we can keep doing what we are doing. Stay tuned for more announcements on 2025, including Beathir the Dragon being moved to March and lots more good stuff. Beyond that, thank you all. Merry Christmas. See you all in the new year.